go, baby. Playmakers on 3. 1, 2, 3.
The rested and number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs are at home hosting the supercharged Cleveland Browns in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. The Browns finally getting the playoff monkey off their back.
This is a moment for the Cleveland Browns.
What a bizarre way they did it, too. The opening score turning out to be a foreshadowing of what was to come the rest of the night.
And they start with a horrible snap.
For the Cleveland Browns, it's like a dream come true, a gift.
Cleveland's defense not only scored on that crazy snap that sailed over Ben Roethlisberger's head, they also ended up picking off Big Ben 4 times in the game.
Pass is intercepted at the 50-yard line.
On the flip side, their D also almost let the Steelers back in the game, because in between all those picks, they surrendered over 500 passing yards and 4 TD passes.
And that's going to be Ebron holding it in.
And the thing is, their play against passing attacks this season was closer to fitting those numbers than the picks. They were 22nd in pass yards per game allowed, 19th in rating allowed, 17th in yards per attempt allowed, and tied for 18th in interceptions.
88, that pass, beholden by Claypool.
Roethlisberger threw a ridiculous 68 times against them last week, and they sacked him 0 times, too. And despite having Myles Garrett up front, they were only tied for 15th in sacks this season, and they were 25th in QB hits. And only 2 teams blitzed less than they did, so pressuring the QB isn't necessarily their forte.
Roethlisberger has now thrown for over 500 yards tonight.
So it begs the question, how is that going to work out when they line up across from the Patrick Price?
Way to keep working.
Patrick, though his mom probably won't watch this anyway, but I respect all mothers. But anyway, he may not have had an MVP type season, but 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 108 rating, 316 yards per game doesn't seem too shabby either.
We need more.
Now, if Browns fans are looking for some evidence that he's human, you can go with the idea that he ended his year on a low note. He posted his lowest passer rating of the season in his final game, and he threw 4 of his 6 total INTs this season over his last 3 games.
Fired, intercepted at the goal line.
He also got sacked 7 times in his final 3 games, so you could try and argue that he isn't going into the playoffs hot.
Now they're able to drop him for the 3rd time in this game.
He's also now had 2 full weeks to rest. One could view that as he's going to be rusty, that 2 weeks is too much time to take off right before the playoffs.
You got to stop moving, too, right? I mean, I'm making my mic calls, but then here's the thing. Just make sure you get set.
But the other view is they just rebooted Mahomes, and a recharged Mahomes is the last thing any defense wants to deal with.
We're built for moments like these. All we got to do is go out there, play fast, play together, and dominate every time the ball comes your way.
Cleveland will have its hands full if that's the case, because Mahomes has all sorts of options when he drops back, starting with the game's best tight end, Travis Kelce. The first-team All-Pro led the team in receptions with 105, had 11 TDs, and came close to leading the league in receiving yards, clocking out with over 1,400.
Come on. That was a sparker right there. That's all that was. That was just to spark it up.
Next, the Browns have to try and keep up with Tyreek Hill, who led the team with 15 TDs and had over 1,200 yards.
Throwing it long, he's got Tyreek Hill over the shoulder!
Hey, all day, baby. We keep working, baby, all day.
But KC's speed doesn't end with him. Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, and Demarcus Robinson all had over 400 yards receiving. Defenses never knowing which will play the role as Mahomes' number 3 on any given day.
Fires it late for the end zone, and Hardman with the catch, touchdown!
That group is primarily responsible for the Chiefs putting up the 6th most points per game and the most yards per game.
Sidearms it, Demarcus Robinson, corner route, caught, touchdown!
I threw it a little too high. I was just trying to just lob it out there, but it got there.
Cleveland's D, on the other hand, finished 17th in yards per game allowed and 21st in points per game allowed.
Fires, it's going to be caught! Touchdown!
It makes sense then that they also struggled on 3rd down, where they finished the year 22nd.
Here they come. Roethlisberger throws, caught. Big first down.
That can also be problematic when you face a team that converted almost 50% of its 3rd down attempts, KC 3rd best on that front.
3rd and 4. Cross to Hill for the touchdown!
Oddly, Kansas City's one blind spot on offense was inside the red zone, finishing middle of the pack at scoring TDs once they were inside the 20.
Mahomes looking for Kelce, throwing that way, and it's incomplete.
But if you're 2nd in points, that means you're scoring from a different spot on the field, which the Chiefs did. No team put up more TDs of 20-plus yards. Only one team had more 20-plus yard pass completions.
Hill holds it in at the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Mahomes had to have time to make a lot of those throws, which he did. They gave up the 5th fewest sacks.
Over the shoulder, 15-yard line, cuts it back inside, 5, he backflips into the end zone!
Can't run with you, boy.
And all those bombs came with little risk. The Chiefs 4th in turnovers, Mahomes with the 2nd lowest interception rate of any QB in the league.
They're right, because if they stay with y'all, I'm going to be running for days anyways, but if they come to me, I'm going to put it right to y'all. Y'all just make sure y'all working.
The Browns did at least hold their own when it came to preventing big splash plays. They were 11th in 20-plus yard pass completions allowed.
Fires over the middle again, high, that's going to be picked off.
They did not, however, generate a lot of turnovers. Middle of the pack there, making those 5 they had last week seem a little fluky.
Throw it in the end zone!
The Chiefs' offensive X factor, its run game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire averaged 4.4 yards a carry and had several big games throughout the year.
Hey, congratulations, big dog. Welcome to the league.
But he got hurt in Week 15. He's expected to play this week, but you never know how effective he'll be since he hurt his hip and ankle, which is why it's nice they have Le'Veon Bell waiting in the wings. Bell only averaged 4 a run overall, but his career resume speaks for itself.
Quick toss, Le'Veon Bell's got the edge. Touchdown!
Mix in some jet sweeps, which they'll try once or twice a game, and you have a team that averaged a healthy 4.5 yards per carry for the season.
Hardman on the jet sweep, makes a move, breaks a tackle.
And when you're that effective toting the rock, it makes sense you're going to use play action a lot. KC had the 3rd most play action pass attempts.
I was like, that dude's going to press Kelce so long that Belly's just going to sneak out. And then the safety came out, I was like, ah!
That at least does play into a Browns' defensive strength this season because they held QBs to the 3rd lowest passer rating off play action.
The fake to Sanders. He's the release, but an on-target throw is intercepted.
Their overall play against the run, not that it will play a major role in this matchup, solid. 9th fewest yards per game allowed, giving up 4.3 per carry on the season.
The Cleveland Browns are winning a physical battle right now.
But if we're talking run games, it means we're at the point where it's time to flip the script. The Browns' rush attack, one of the best in football this season.
Chubb is still going. He's gone.
Kansas City's defense is probably going to see plenty of Nick Chubb. He put up over 1,000 yards, and he would have had a lot more, but he missed 4 games. He scored 12 times on the ground, and he did it all on a fat 5.6 yards per carry, which was tops for running backs this year.
He will break tackles. He is a load.
Including last week, Chubb averaged over 4 a pop in every game he played this year, save 2.
Give it to him again, and another big run.
Just as we saw last week, the Browns like to roll in Kareem Hunt throughout every game as well.
Kareem Hunt breaks a tackle, pulls his way into the end zone.
This will be the first time Hunt faces his former team, too, so you have to think he'll have a little extra something for them in this one.
Around the corner, he's inside the 5, he's in the end zone again.
The Browns' ground game, on paper at least, is where they have the biggest advantage in this game because KC's defensive kryptonite is their run defense.
Smith, big hole. Ito Smith makes a man miss and a first down.
Chiefs fans know the story all too well. They gave up 4.5 a run this season. They've had random games where their run defense cost them wins, etc., etc.
Hill's got a big hole. Brian Hill, first down, inside of the 40.
But that was the case last year too, and what did it matter? And remember, they faced Derrick Henry in the AFC Conference Championship game, and they adapted and shut him down. If they can pull something similar against Chubb and Hunt, then the focus will shift to Baker Mayfield, whose performance last week should have that security guard guy calling him Mr. Mayfield now instead of Parker.
Mayfield to the end zone, wide open.
Mayfield may have been handed a lot of short fields versus Pittsburgh, but you can only play the hand you're dealt, and he played his almost to perfection.
Breaks tackles, and Chubb is going to go all the way to the end zone.
3 TD passes, no picks, over 250 yards, a rating over 115.
Mayfield, quick throw, caught over the middle, and Jarvis Landry has a touchdown.
That game fits Baker's body of work this year. Mayfield putting his sophomore season in his rearview mirror. Number 6 once again looking like the antidote to Cleveland's QB curse.
Yeah!
All the key tenets to Cleveland's passing attack were present in their wild card win, too. Jarvis Landry was Baker's go-to guy.
Well, Jarvis Landry has just been so hot.
Tight end Austin Hooper came up with plenty of big catches throughout the night as well.
Austin Hooper makes the grab.
And their backfield factored in as it usually does, though it was Chubb filling that role in that game, not Hunt like it usually has been.
I've got one of the most elusive, one of the most hard-to-tackle backs in all of football out here.
You can credit much of Mayfield's turnaround this year to the line the Browns assembled in front of him. It was Pro Football Focus's #1 rated line this season.
No, that was completely legal. In some states it might not be, but...
Mayfield was one of the least pressured QBs this year and one of the least sacked QBs.
Throwing for Hooper, and he caught it!
And maybe more impressive, in their win over the Steelers, they weren't just missing their head coach, they were also missing their O-line coaches, their starting Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio, and played much of the night without their other Pro Bowl guard Jack Conklin.
No head coach. Your top 2 offensive line coaches aren't in there. And you have people playing that probably have not ever practiced with the Cleveland Browns.
And Mayfield, facing a pass rush that had recorded a sack in a record 73 straight games, ended that streak by finishing the night with a clean jersey.
They made it happen.
The Chiefs don't really get home against a lot of QBs. They were tied for 19th in sacks.
Aguilar's got it. Touchdown.
But they do blitz quite a bit, and that blitzing led to plenty of pressure and QB hits.
Hey, D-line, we got to hit the quarterback.
All that pressure played a role in some impressive numbers against the pass. 10th lowest rating allowed, 5th lowest completion percentage allowed, tying for the 5th most picks.
He was hit, I believe, when he threw it, and Snead has it.
Kansas City also defended play action well. They gave up the 8th lowest rating against those attempts.
And here's the pass in his direction, and it's knocked down.
The Browns used play action quite a bit. Baker, one of the better bootleg QBs in the league.
Play action, fires, caught, snatched out of the air.
Cleveland didn't put up a ton of points per game or yards per game this year, but they were 7th best at keeping drives alive and 3rd best once they were inside the 20.
It is caught in the end zone.
And while the Chiefs were tied for 10th in points per game allowed, they were dead last at keeping teams out of the end zone once their opposition was inside the 20.
And this is going to get it. How about that?
Man, this game is packed with great matchups. Which ones do you think will matter most? Let us know. Write up your breakdowns in the comments section. Don't forget to include your final score. And Browns fans, how many of you were screaming at your TVs at the end of the game when you saw Baker setting up to throw a block for Chubb when the game was already over? Baker, no, it's not worth it. Anyway, we'll leave you now with our predictions. We have 10 of them forthcoming.